my guest, Hamid Rouchdi, the founder of Cafe Vendome, a very authentic French-style cafe concept with two locations here in North Metro Atlanta, which is, in my opinion, poised to grow because it's really a great model, Hamid. So welcome to the Business Hour.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Hamid, you chose to create an authentic French cafe, and you wanted to, from the basic elements of the bakery, you wanted to capture some of the tradition of a French boulangerie with breads, with Viennese pastries, with quality coffee as well, with authentic French cafe sandwiches, croquette madames, croquette monsieurs, two of my very favorite sandwiches or items, and you even have homemade ice cream. Tell us about how you arrived at the concept of a authentic French-style cafe and the many elements that go into creating the concept and executing the concept.
Yeah. So, as you know, my background is in engineering, so I was living here for almost 20 years, and I found out that there is no real French bakery pastry coffee. Sometimes you find French restaurant but the real French bakery pastry coffee was not existing. So when I went to go and work in coffee, I was not really happy to be in some places where there is no atmosphere, there is no elegance. So I come up with, say, okay, I will create something that can satisfy my needs. There is a need for it that I can use and I can share with the community. So I come up with this idea where I said, okay, I have different backgrounds from Italy, France, and I can come up with a French authentic bakery pastry coffee with good concept, allow people to see what's going on, share the experience, and allow people and kids to see it, and then do something like authentic, no additions of anything, just pure as it was in the past.
And one thing you mentioned to me off air is that you chose to create menu items which you like, yes, to do things that are to your liking in general, even down to the interior design. And I think you're very fortunate that at least we have taste which coincides, because I think it's a great menu. There's almost nothing in the menu which I would not like. Yeah. And this is not true for very many places. I mean, we all go into restaurants where, oh no, this is not something I would like. Yeah. But you decided that I'll pick things which I like. And
exactly, yeah. Because I was thinking, okay, I will be in this place and I want it for me. So what do I want? And what's my taste? And I'm very picky. I don't eat everywhere. I'm very picky. So I come up with a menu that I like, and I was sure if I like it, since I'm picky, people will like it. And I made sure there is no addition of preservatives. I can eat soup, I can eat anything in the menu, anything, and I enjoy it every day. Actually, I'm working there and I'm eating there. And it was actually right, because the community supported it. When the community came and started tasting authentic French food, and all homemade and all made on demand. When you order a croque monsieur, we'll put it in the oven, we make it, put it in the oven. You will wait 8 minutes, 10 minutes, but you will have authentic, fresh croque monsieur. So it ended up being actually very satisfactory for my customers.
You know, I think we should take a moment here to, I mentioned croque madame and croque monsieur, yeah, as being two of my favorite items. I was introduced to croque monsieur and madame I think I might have been in Paris. It could have been one of the other cities in Paris, and we're going to be talking about some of the other French cities, because there are places where you lived that, yes, I believe had some influence on you. But yes, but for our audience who have never had the pleasure of a croque madame or monsieur, Describe what a croque madame is and a croque monsieur.
So the croque madame first is croque monsieur plus an egg on the top. So this is why we call it croque madame. And monsieur, as you know, in French, monsieur is sir, madame is madame, lady. So it's basically two slides of bread, special bread. We call it pain de mie. So we make this bread, of course, in Cafe Vendome, and we slice it. We put cheese and ham, and we bake it. And there's some bechamel in it, and then we bake it. When somebody said, I want croque madame, it's a croque monsieur, and we have this egg on top of it, and it's delicious.
So many people around the world, but particularly Americans, can relate to a ham and cheese sandwich, even a grilled ham and cheese sandwich. But we're talking about really quality bread and ham and cheese. But also you have the bechamel sauce. Describe what a bechamel sauce is.
I am not an expert in all the description of the ingredients, because remember, I am an engineer. I only taste, and I don't make them, actually, because if you go to the kitchen, you will see me eating and tasting, making sure that they have the right ingredient, the best ingredients, and I ate and I say, okay, it's good.
But it's a very it's cream-based sauce.
Cream, exactly.
Yeah.
And, but I'm not even able to make it.
Yeah.
I only taste it.
Yeah. Imagine your best grilled ham and cheese with a cream sauce that makes it a little bit moist, and then if you add the egg, you have the croque madame. Exactly. And it's one of my favorite menu items, and I thought we should take time to talk about it, just because we're talking about a authentic French cafe today.
We have another one that is called Bonjour Croissant, which is a croissant with eggs inside. We have another one with hot tartine, which is a half baguette, and you put some cheese and curry or goat cheese or chicken or tuna, and then you can put it in the oven, and the ovens are all French ovens. I made sure that I bring the best brand actually from France, because if you are making something authentic, it's recipe, it's machines, and it's the way of making. So you cannot just use any ovens to make authentic French.
I should also add that there are many countries here and abroad where bread is an item that is highly desired. Americans are crazy about our breads, and yet we've learned much about breads in Europe, so that you have French breads, Italian breads, German breads, Dutch. The Dutch make great breads. Exactly. You could have succeeded possibly just as a bakery. And yet you chose to go beyond the bakery. Maybe we could say the bakery is your foundation. Yeah. And you have items that include pastries, which from the croissants to the chocolate croissants, to the almond croissants, to the chocolate almond croissants, to some of your other pastries. Tell us a little bit about how you decided that you would also create some pastries, and maybe you can talk a little bit about what it took to have a chef that was capable of baking those breads and those pastries.
Yeah, so I will tell you how it works. In the beginning, I didn't want to do the bread. Why? Because the machines were so expensive. So I was saying, it's too expensive. But at the same time, I want a real good baguette. So what I did, I called the French chef in Atlanta, is a friend of mine who owns a restaurant. And I told him, I'm debating this idea that, do you think I should do bread and baguette, or I just buy it somewhere else? And he said, do the baguette, if you can do it. So I listened. I just bought the machines. It's okay. And it ended up being a great idea, because everything is founded on this baguette. It's according to my customers, and I can confirm, because I eat it every day, it's the best baguette in Atlanta now. Why? Because it's fresh, it's authentic, no additional preservatives, made every day, every morning, the right temperature, right oven, right yeast. It's just amazing. So then of course, pastry, we need to make some pastries with authentic French chocolate. Valrhona is a very, very good brand. And the viennoiserie, all this croissant, chocolate croissant. You cannot imagine French bakery pastry without viennoiserie. The viennoiserie, you have all this amazing smell in the morning when you come, you have this croissant. I mean, front, it's just the colors. Just the color of the croissant, chocolate croissant. It's just amazing and smell. And you have pepito, it's pepits of chocolate. You have financier, madeleines, and we do macaroons. All this is adding colors and adding to the bread. And then, of course, you cannot just enjoy this croissant viennoiserie without good cappuccino, latte, that you add this to the product, and it's end up being like amazing.
Before we get into the whole coffee aspect, the cappuccinos and the lattes, I want to say that for listeners who didn't catch your reference to the Viennese pastries, you have this incredible range. And in fact, at one point, you mentioned to me that you were thinking that you would also make your own chocolate. But, you cannot make everything. No. And maybe one day you'll manufacture your own chocolate. But you chose to use a very high quality Valrhona chocolate.
Yeah. And exactly. And chocolate, you can make it, but you cannot make it in the same place where you're making bread. It doesn't mix with flour. So you need special room for chocolate, special temperature too. So since I couldn't do that, I said, okay, I'll postpone it because I have the mold and I have everything to make it. I need maybe to buy another machine, but it's possible. In the future, I will do it because if we offer to the community very good chocolate, homemade, it will be amazing.
We're going to be taking a break in just a bit. And when we come back, I want to talk a little bit more about some of the menu items, but I also want to talk about the earliest stages of when you conceived of creating a French cafe, because you have a background as an engineer. And I want to talk about the transition. We're here with Hamid Rouchdi. We've been talking about his very authentic French bakery concept. We'll be back with Hamid right after this break.
Perhaps you are struggling to cope with the disease of addiction. If not, you probably know a family member or friend that needs help in battling the cravings and the personal and professional damage done by the effects of drugs or alcohol. Get a pen and paper and be ready to write down the following. These are the issues that the trained staff at the Atlanta Healing Center address and treat every day. Their doctors and counselors with over 40 years of practice in the field of addiction can treat the suffering individual in a thoughtful, compassionate, and experienced manner and guide him or her along the path to recovery. So call 770-696-9862 and speak to a knowledgeable staff member about how you or your loved one can be helped to enjoy a better and healthier life. More information is also available on the website at www.atlantahealingcenter.com.
Get your pen and paper ready. If there's a move in your near future, I'm here to tell you that the folks I used and now recommend is Around Town Movers. Timothy and the guys recently moved me, and I am and was totally satisfied with a sometimes not so fun experience moving. Call Timothy at 770-378-4708 and make it a good move and a good experience. Around Town Movers for that local or cross-country move. Timothy, Around Town Movers.
Welcome back to the Business Hour. I'm here with Hamid Rouchdi, the founder and owner of Cafe Vendome, located in North Metro Atlanta. And, for guests that are unfamiliar with the business hour, I have drawn upon the business community in Atlanta, Georgia, even though we have guests from all over the country and have had international guests. Atlanta is a big enough and robust enough business community that we have representation for almost any business segment. And I have found that I can draw upon businesses, some of whom I have some association, to offer up a slice, if you will, of American business. And to me, as an entrepreneur, you represent the epitome of an American businessman. Even though you are a French-American citizen, you are the epitome of an entrepreneur. And this is what much of the program will be about, talking about your transition from being an engineer for a major corporation to becoming an entrepreneur, what goes into getting a quality business off the ground, which I think you have done extremely well. We'll talk a little bit about the scalability, because that's really important if you want to grow. And I also think that you don't want to grow too fast and to lose quality. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But going back to the beginning, you, in order to be an authentic French restaurant, you had to have a good French chef, and you found Chef Carl early on. And since that time, you've had to grow, and other chefs have had to be trained in the authentic French method. But tell us about Chef Carl early on.
Just before I talk about that, you talked about my background and nationalities. It's something that really make me who I am, and I'm proud of, because I lived in 4 countries. But actually, I'm citizen of 3 countries. I'm Moroccan, French, American. And it's what make me actually who I am, and what I do is based on what I got the best from these cultures. And I am really happy we'll be lucky enough to belong to these countries. So when I was thinking about...
those are, by the way, 3 great countries in terms of flavor.
Thank you.
Yes. I mean,
food is very important, and business is very important, and cultures, it's so amazing. And you can really combine these cultures to get amazing values. And that's what I use every day as an ethical businessman in Atlanta. So when I was thinking about this business, Cafe Vendome, as you know, you have, as I said, you need a recipe and chef, and you need machines, and you need some actually risk-taking and guts to jump from engineering to a business that everybody is knowing that it's very hard. And I was actually, many of my friends and businessmen I know recommended to don't go. It's too hard. It's too hard. But for me at that time, hard means it's a lot of work. So I said, I'm used to work hard. Nothing would stop me. I mean, it's okay. So,
well, that it was also appealing, that it was a challenge?
Of course, yes, exactly. And I love challenges. So starting something from scratch, just an idea, an imagination, and a vision, actually, and say, okay, I know it's hard. I know the location may be a little bit hidden. I know all my friends and family were really skeptical, and they are really scared from seeing me failing. But I trusted my vision and my hard work, and I trusted the community, because I know going Sandy Springs, for example, would be a good place to do this business.
So what were their concerns primarily of business startup in general, that to start up a business of any kind could be difficult? Did they think that maybe a French restaurant that would be as authentic as you would like it to be would not have the appeal? What were their concerns?
The concerns, which they didn't express very well to me at that time, and it's good, it's the human resources. Because all this success, it depends on people. You actually have ideas, you work hard, and you make things happen. But without people, without employees, you can do nothing. Without good customers and loyal customers that they appreciate what you are doing, you do nothing. So you have customers base that they support you. It's very important, and I was lucky to have this support of the community. And I was even amazed when they are telling me, thank you for coming doing Cafe Vendome here, which is, for me, it's like amazing. I was thinking I had to thank them to come, but they were thanking me to create something. And then you have all the resources, because the markets can be challenging to find good people that you can rely on. And I was lucky to find good people. So the first one I brought from France, I did this O1 visa. It was a chef Carl, who is a very talented young chef. I gave him all the possibility to create and green light to do whatever he wants. And it was amazing to build with me the coffee in the beginning. Unfortunately, he was good enough. Somebody noticed him, and you always have somebody coming to hire your stuff when they are good. So it's part of the business. It's part of the risks.
Right, which is something you and I talked about. There's no way you can prevent people from wanting to move up and out. And it's an ever-present problem of you cultivate talent, you identify the talent, you cultivate the talent, you train people, and then they want to move up and out. And, you cannot change this evolution of people's careers.
Yeah.
But
I come up with an idea now. Now I see things differently. Now the chef, I think if you want to keep them, you have to be having a stake in the business. Big stake in the business, and then they will stay. If they don't have big stake, anyone can come and give them more money, and you lose them, which is part of actually things that was worried my friends and my advisors at that time.
So do you have a group of chefs, and is it the head chefs which have an interest in the company?
Not yet.
Not yet.
I'm negotiating this kind of sharing the business. It's not yet done. It will be actually to grow, to be able to handle the growth and have different locations. It's kind of a necessity for me.
Yeah, you mentioned the human resources element, and you and I also had this conversation about young people. Many businesses are dependent upon young people, teenagers and 20-somethings.
Yeah.
In the server community, there are legions of restaurants which are filled with teenagers and 20-somethings, and this is a very difficult group to hold on to.
Exactly. Yeah, actually between like 18, 17 to 25. You have different. It depends on their background, and it depends on also how they grow up. But you can find amazing young people that they can work hard, and they are motivated. They are happy to be in good environment, because after all, they like the environment. If they like the environment, they like you. They will work with you. But the way they work is different from other generations. We have to accept it. It's just how they are. You have to know how to approach them, how to manage them, how to keep them motivated, and you have to accept when they want to move to college or do something else. Said that's fine. Don't see it personal.
The same person which is going to be a quality employee, and I know that you have people who are not just what I call waitrons. They're not the automated servers. They are people thinking, feeling, people with individual characters, character and thought. And that same person is someone who is looking to evolve professionally.
Exactly.
And also, I believe that in many countries, but particularly in the U.S., when you have a strong economy in a given market, that market has a shortage of young people, because there are jobs and much mobility within the marketplace. So it's even more difficult.
I know, I realize it now, but I try to differentiate myself and my business. That's so not only about money, how much you pay them, but how you empower them. Because I basically, when I hire, I have maybe 60-70% are customers. They come as customers, and others are friends of my employees or friends of my customers. But you empower them, you show them, you tell them, you think as a customer what you expect. When you were a customer, what you were expecting. And you think as an owner, if you own this place, what would you do? Do exactly what logic and what you think it's fair, do it. Nobody will stop you doing anything you think is right for business and for customer. This is how they are managed, actually. This is the concept of
Yes.
Cafe Vendome.
Not only how they are managed, but because you are operating a quality business. This is a quality business which goes on the resume.
Yeah,
You worked at the Cafe Vendome. You must be a professional
exactly.
person. And, my guest of last week, Michael Coles, who has written his book, Time to Get Tough, with many lessons derived from his experience as a business entrepreneur. He talks about being a mentor to his people, which I believe you are as well, to try to help people to see what skills they have and how to cultivate those skills. And again, once you do this, you are grooming someone to move on, but this is the nature of the business.
Exactly, and I do that, and I also show them how you can be calm with customers, because after all, it depends on your emotional intelligence. You need to be calm when some customer is challenging. You need to handle it with calm. They are maybe young, but they show maturity. You have to be inspired, and I help them, and they see me. I don't scream, I don't say bad words, I don't lose my emotional intelligence, and this is how they behave. They're actually your image.
You are very common. When we're going to be taking a break, when we come back, I'm going to give a perfect example of how you calmly addressed a situation in the restaurant, in the cafe. We're here with Hamid Rouchdi, and we'll be back with Hamid to talk more about what went into creating a really quality French cafe concept and the execution behind the concept right after this break.
You're listening to America's Web Radio on the AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
This is David Donaldson with the Atlanta Healing Center, conveniently located in Lawrenceville, Georgia. At AHC, your success is our goal. Addiction recovery is about more than just not using. It's about becoming a whole person and addressing all aspects of your physical, psychological, and social needs. Please call us at 770-696-9862, or you can reach us on the web at www.atlantahealingcenter.com.
Perhaps you are struggling to cope with the disease of addiction. If not, you probably know a family member or friend that needs help in battling the cravings and the personal and professional damage done by the effects of drugs or alcohol. Get a pen and paper and be ready to write down the following. These are the issues that the trained staff at the Atlanta Healing Center address and treat every day. Their doctors and counselors with over 40 years of practice in the field of addiction can treat the suffering individual in a thoughtful, compassionate, and experienced manner and guide him or her along the path to recovery. So call 770-696-9862 and speak to a knowledgeable staff member about how you or your loved one can be helped to enjoy a better and healthier life. More information is also available on the website at www.atlantahealingcenter.com.
You're listening to America's Web Radio on the AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
Welcome back to the Business Hour. I'm Ron Camacho, your host, and today we have Hamid Rouchdi, who is sharing with us insight into making the transition from being an engineer to being a founder and the owner of an authentic French bakery concept. And we've been talking about what went into the concept and some of the dimensions of what it takes to execute that concept. We were talking about the human resources dimension of the restaurant. And Hamid mentioned that one thing he wants to share with his people are the emotional component, the emotional IQ aspect, if you will, the calm nature which is appropriate in situations, oftentimes in a restaurant when a customer might be irate or simply a little bit disappointed. And I said before the break that I would give you an example of how Hamid handled the situation so beautifully. It was toward the end of the day. Any good bakery will run out of baguettes. In France, if you don't get it in the morning or by noon, sometimes you're out of luck. You know, there's not always a surplus of quality baguettes. Customer came in, was looking for a couple of baguettes, and you and I were chatting, but you noticed that the customer came in and you thought maybe he could be looking for a baguette, and you asked your people, they said yes. You went out into the parking lot and you said, were you looking for a baguette? He says yes. And you asked him how many he was looking for. You called to your other store and you found that they had some baguettes. So you solved this problem. I think that customer must have felt really good about that.
It's true, because it's actually, I always, my goal every morning is making my customer happy. It's really because what I'm doing, all this I'm doing it for who? For customers to be happy. It's happiness and good experience. So if at the end of the day you see somebody frustrated and not getting his baguette, and you could solve his problem, it's like it's what you say, it's pity. So what I do, I always make sure that I can listen, I can see their needs, and I make them happy because they are expressing it actually every day. When they come in, they are welcome. They feel special. They have this good atmosphere. So this is one of the cases that you saw, but I do it very often. I'm closing in the night and I see one of the cars in the parking lot, and customers were not customers, and I will offer them things. At the end of the day, say, this is for you. They feel so special, and they are happy. They come back and they remind me, and I don't even remember. And they said, you remember you offered us something? I said, I don't know. I must have been very nice that day. So
no one goes into a restaurant to not have a good time.
Yeah.
They might not be expecting more than just a quality a meal, a tasty bite of food, but oftentimes you are going in to escape the other elements of your day to have a relaxed moment with something tasty to eat. And I think this is the kind of environment that you have created, is a nice respite from an otherwise busy day. I mean, which if you, for listeners who have had the pleasure of sitting in a nice cafe in Europe, it doesn't have to be just France, but in France there are many, many fine cafes in many, many towns where it's such a pleasant experience to go and relax and to have a cappuccino or a latte, which brings us to the subject. You decided also you would have quality coffee and quality, authentic cappuccinos and lattes. Your experience living in Italy, in Milan, must have contributed to that. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I was transferred from Paris to Milano in '96. Actually, I was working for a telecom company from New Hampshire. So they needed some expertise in Milano, and I accepted the challenge, and I learned Italians. They paid for my classes, and it was actually amazing experience to be with Italians. So, of course, every morning you have your cappuccino, and I get used to it, and it's amazing. It's an amazing experience. And when I went back to France, I worked actually in Nice. I noticed that I am not liking any more cafe as you used to. I became very picky. So I bought like new machines, I remember, and then I was always looking for good coffee. So when I created my Cafe Vendome, I could not make a coffee without a real espresso machine from Italy. La Marzocco is one of the best. And then you have a concept of also dialing in the morning, fine-tuning the coffee, like measuring its precision to the gram, and every gram, every timing works like to make sure that the coffee is well balanced and not bitter, not sour. So I selected also very good coffee beans. So all this make this experience from Italy shared with the community here in Atlanta. So now, when you go to Cafe Vendome, not only you have the French experience, but you have the latte, cappuccino, macchiato experience from Italy, which that's why I said I'm lucky that I had this experience in a few countries.
I might add here that for anyone local who's looking for a good cup of cappuccino, you can get a pretty good cup of cappuccino at a Starbucks, but you run the risk sometimes that the cappuccino has been turned into a latte. One thing that your cafe does is keep a cappuccino,
Exactly.
which is a little bit stronger, has a little bit less milk than a latte, which is the word for milk.
Yes. Yeah, but exactly.
And so oftentimes I find myself trying to explain, if I think they might listen, if there's not people standing behind me in a Starbucks, that a cappuccino has a little bit less milk. And I know that sometimes the server is trying not to give you a half-filled cup,
Yeah.
and thereby they're pouring more milk. giving you a fuller cup, but this is not the point. It's
not about
it's
not about how filled it is actually. In general, I said don't fill it up. It's very hard to even to move with it. It's about the balance between the milk and the coffee. It's the balance that it's important to make a latte and cappuccino. It's not quantity, it's quality, and this is actually what we train our baristas to do in Cafe Vendome.
You know, we mentioned that you lived in Milan, but you also lived in Paris. You lived in Versailles. You lived in one of my favorite cities in all of Europe, Lille.
How lucky I was.
In the north of France. For listeners who aren't familiar, it's on the border of the Netherlands.
In Belgium.
Oh, Belgium, yes, on the border of Belgium and France. And it's a delightful town. So you have lived Milan, Paris, Lille, Versailles,
Nice or Valbonne.
Oh, Nice, yes.
Nice and Valbonne.
Valbonne.
Yeah, because I worked there in R&D.
So in the French Riviera. So tell us. Toulouse. Okay, even more incredible. What do you think that the composite influence has been on your sensibility? I think maybe the seeds were planted unconsciously that you spent time in cafes in those places, and you adopted or you took on you interpreted this experience, you internalized it, and now you're recreating this in a cafe, because we've talked about menu items, we've talked about the cappuccinos, we've talked about the pastry, the breads, which you're doing in authentic ways, but also you're attempting to also bring a little bit of France to the cafe, and you've done this interior design wise. Talk about this.
Yeah, so when you live in Lille, you enjoy the city, especially I like the Vieux-Lille, this little old city. It's amazing. I enjoyed also people, amazing people in the north of France are amazing people, very, very warm. They take time to get to know you, and they are friends forever. Then you go to Paris. I was living not very far from Eiffel Tower. You just walk and you meet so many international people. It's also these streets and these parks and these monuments. It's amazing. It's influenced you, of course. Then I moved to Versailles, which is another. I was like 5 minutes, living 5 minutes from the Chateau de Versailles. It's where I was running. So all this elegance and this boulevards and this building, amazing. It's actually I have 2 boys born in Versailles, and I was married in Versailles, and it's just my favorite city in France. It's a beautiful, beautiful city. Then moving from there to Milano, you enjoy the Italian spirit, this warmth, this is how they touch you, they are friendly with you, and how passionate about soccer, which is I love. And then all this experience of gelato and cafe. So you come up, they influence you again, and you take so much from these cultures and from these cities. Then you go to Nice and Valbonne, and you see this, the beach, the sound in the morning, the smell of the morning, and the morning dew, and it's basically you are without paying attention. I agree with you. You are absorbing all this elegance and experiences, and you influence your life. Then when I came here from Nice, actually, I start also appreciating the southern. People in the south are so nice. The community is so welcoming. And then you are saying, okay, what can I bring here that they don't have, that they can enjoy and I can make them enjoy? This is how you start thinking to create things, actually, and to share. Basically, it's all about sharing and sharing experience. So this is how I end up doing all this Cafe Vendome experience.
I think you were taking this all in. It was being stored away in the data banks and waiting to be shared, and that you are using the Cafe Vendome to share a little bit of that experience.
Yes.
And I might add, in the one of the 2 stores, which is the slightly larger store that's on Belle Isle, how quaint that it should be on Belle Isle,
Yes.
in the Sandy Springs.
Yeah.
You have beautiful mural images and photographs of aspects of France,
Yeah.
and for someone who has been to cafes in France, it takes me back a little bit
Yeah.
when I'm sitting there eating my croque monsieur or madame,
Yeah.
and or having one of your incredible chocolate almond croissants and a cappuccino. I am for a moment transformed into or transferred
Transport
to,
you.
yeah,
Transport you to
transported,
Paris.
yeah, and
And you can notice, you can see the mural. It's actually Place des Vosges. You can see in the hallway this Lille. You can see the Vieux Lille in a big frame there,
yes,
and you see a lot of pictures of Eiffel Tower. It's actually bringing this experience and my souvenirs to this cafe.
and I can tell that you have customers coming in, ones who maybe only know a few words like bonjour
Yes.
and merci.
We always say bonjour.
That's right, and I think people like that. They
Yes,
are.
yeah, they are,
Yeah.
I transfer them to
Yeah.
France. It's how we try to do these things because we work hard and a lot of people are working hard. You need this moment in your life. We live only once. We don't live two times. So
That's
you need to enjoy it.
That's right. That's right. And this is the French way. We're here with Hamid Rouchdi, and we have been talking about the Cafe Vendome, his concept, which he has executed beautifully here in North Metro Atlanta. We'll be back to talk to Hamid more about this right after the break.
Get your pen and paper ready. If there's a move in your near future, I'm here to tell you that the folks I used and now recommend is Around Town Movers. Timothy and the guys recently moved me, and I am and was totally satisfied with a sometimes not so fun experience moving. Call Timothy at 770-378-4708 and make it a good move and a good experience. Around Town Movers for that local or cross-country move. Timothy, Around Town Movers, in my opinion, are the best. That's Around Town Movers. Call them.
Happy Oregon homeownership is the result of a good working relationship between the home buyer and their realtor. Make buying your Oregon home a fun and rewarding experience. Get our free guide to happy Oregon homeownership. Act now, limited availability. Free at realoregonhomes.com. That's realoregonhomes.com.
The Docs for Patient Care Foundation is your way to join the fight and become a member of an organization created by doctors for patients dedicated to fighting for your healthcare freedom and preserving the doctor-patient relationship. Get a pen and paper. Write down www.docsforpatientcarefoundation.org. That's www.docsforpatientcarefoundation.org. Go to our site and please make a generous tax-deductible donation and join the fight today. Thank you.
Welcome back to the Business Hour. We're here with Hamid Rouchdi, and we've been talking about the French cafe concept, which he created and has executed here in North Metro Atlanta. It's a model, a business model, which I think, Hamid, has tremendous potential because there's a great deal of attention to detail and creating an authentic French cafe that will work in many U.S. cities or many other cities around the world. And the key will be to maintain the quality, of course. But let's talk now about that transition from engineer to entrepreneur, corporate engineer to restaurant entrepreneur. You were an MBA student at Emory University here in Atlanta, and you told me off camera that you feel that the program helped you to think out of the box in terms of other possibilities. You mentioned entrepreneurialism, a portion of the MBA program. Tell us a little bit about that transition during the MBA program.
Yes. So first, when you are an engineer from France, for us in France, an MBA is United States. because we have MBAs in France, but an MBA is another say. So I was always dreaming. I love studying, so I always dreaming about an MBA. So when I was ready, because for me an MBA must start with, if you want to do an MBA, you must do it after an experience in corporation. Don't do it after just graduation. So in 2005, I compared different MBAs in Atlanta, and I loved the program in Emory. And Emory actually had amazing professors. And at that time, my MBA, the weekend executive MBA, was ranked 6th in the world. Yes, and believe me, it was really worth it, because what I learned from my professors and from my classmates was amazing. Because imagine you are learning from a professor, but at the same time you're learning from executives around you that you are sharing. The atmosphere, the sharing was just amazing for me as an engineer. I was like absorbing, and I was bringing my experience, international experience, to the classroom that many professors also appreciated. One of the class I remember, entrepreneurship class, this is when I start thinking, I need to leverage this study. I need to leverage this MBA. And this is the country for that. I mean, the United States is known for businesses, for risks, for trying things, and you fail, you stand up and you move. So I come up with different ideas. Actually, Cafe Vendome is my second or third idea, actually. So I was inspired by my professors and my classmates.
You know, you mentioned that the U.S. is a place which cultivates entrepreneurialism, and I have to say that oftentimes people forget that entering college as the first stage of higher education, if you will, you actually can pick many different directions to move in. You can change. Much as you did while you were in the graduate program at Emory. I've often said to young people, at no other time in your life will someone hand you a book that is filled with courses, and they will say, pick some courses to immerse yourself in, and that you get to study things from English literature, French literature, American history, engineering, mass communications, and then change to something else. Yeah. Because in the future, no one's going to hand you a book with options. You're going to be on a track. And one way to get off of the track is to do what you did in the MBA program at Emory, where you had the freedom of mind to think of other possibilities, specifically the French restaurant concept. Yes. Tell us about how you came up with this.
So in the beginning, just as I said, I noticed there is a need. So there is a need, and you have all the information all the way to create a business, because you're doing an MBA, you're learning everything to start a business. If you have few ingredients, first one, the passion. You need to be passionate. Second, you need, when you do something, you do it right. You do it very well. Otherwise, it's not worth it. You just waste your time. Then the risk. You have to be able to accept the risk. You have to have the guts and accept the risk. You fail, it's fine. You stand up and you move. If you don't have these ingredients, whatever you study, it doesn't work. So if these ingredients plus all these classes and all structured information that they are so valuable, you don't need anyone actually after an MBA. You don't need anyone to help you to do your financial forecast or to do your business model or to do your marketing campaign. Everything is handed to you in the class.
And what better way to take a risk than in that environment?
Yes, yeah.
Because you are coming up with a concept and you are working out the executional strategy. And I saw your business plan. It was highly structured. I mentioned to you that I've worked on business plans as a writer. I've helped people tweak their business plans. I've seen none more carefully detailed, much like an engineer.
Yes.
I mean, this is one of the benefits of your having the engineering background and having worked as a professional, that you put a lot into your business plan. And although you tell me that early on, this business plan, because it was a new concept, was not as well received, I believe that today, and I told you this, that business plan, because you executed with two cafes
Yeah.
will be much better received.
I agree, and many customers noticed. They said, this is too detailed. We can see your engineering experience here." It's true. I mean, it's a character. It's how you are. It's how you are. I don't know. It's being born certain way, but also leveraging your experience through time and with people and with different countries. But at the same time, you need to persevere. You need to believe in yourself and persevere. You cannot give up because it's so hard. It's not easy. Otherwise, everybody can do it. You need to keep up.
And one thing I just don't want to forget, and I apologize for interjecting here, but I mean, you also believe in high ethical standards when it comes to professionalism, and you've actually presented in that regard, kind of business ethics. Tell us a little bit about this.
I was invited to this class, MBA class at Emory, to talk about ethics in business, but from a cultural point of view, how cultures see ethics in business. So you share your experience, because ethics in business, when you're in Italy or in Morocco, you're in France, United States, it's a little bit different. The culture and the ethics are so connected. So I had to share this experience, and for me, doing ethical business, even when you negotiate any deal, you need to be ethical, and you need to do it kind of win-win negotiation. And the world is so small. You meet always somebody somewhere that you did business with or you connected with. So they can be customer in the future. They can work for you. You can work for them. So anything you do, if you have ethics and respect for people, it follows you, and you never have problems. And in the past, corporation hired me back. They cannot, when you resign and you leave and they hired you back, it's because they believe that you have good ethics. You can't leave, as I say in French, don't leave your place when you're leaving, don't leave your place dirty. Means you keep always your place clean. And what we say in the United States, what goes around comes around.
Yes, what goes around comes around. And also in the previous program with a guest, Michael Coles, one thing he pointed out is that if you have high ethical standards, you want to surround yourself with other high integrity people, which helps you to maintain a higher ethical standard and professionalism throughout your business, particularly as you grow. Your experience in the MBA program at Emory seems to have been very good. Would you say that's true? And
it transformed my life.
What would you recommend?
It transformed me completely.
Well, what would you recommend to someone who is thinking about an MBA program?
So first, as I said, don't just do an MBA because you finished your graduation. Look for jobs and work, and do different department in work in any corporation. Do I don't know, if you're an engineer, do operation, do R&D or solution design, and then when you go to the MBA, you start thinking how your corporation was working. You start connecting the dots. You start also understanding why HR were doing this, why this business team were doing this way, why the marketing was this way. You leverage what you learn, and you share also your experience, and then you, at the end of the program, you end up really understanding how business works, and how you can leverage it as an entrepreneur. You can leverage it in corporation, and you can be transformed.
And what advice would you offer to anyone, a young person who is thinking, I would like to become an entrepreneur, I would like to own my own business, I would like to be independent, or even someone later in the career, as you did, transforming from a corporate engineer to a completely different field as an entrepreneur? What advice would you give for someone who's thinking about a career as a entrepreneur?
Yeah, so first, just make sure you are passionate about something, first thing. Then make sure you see a differentiation what you are providing. Don't just copy-paste something existing. Make a differentiation. Add in value to something, to the community. Then just be, you have to persevere. Don't just say it's hard and you stop. Some financial part is very challenging because, let's say in a restaurant business, banks will not be behind you. They are scared from the word restaurant. So you need some money. You can use your 401k. You can use family's money. And if you have a good business case and good business model, you can convince a lot of people to help you. And then just be ethical and go forward and go structured and surround yourself with good people. If let's say sometimes some people lose their job, they are laid off. This is actually a great opportunity to use whatever package they get from their corporation and apply an idea that they have with passion, with perseverance, and they will be successful if they believe in it.
And I will say that you have surrounded yourself with some quality people. You've identified some quality people. Even the young people that are working with you, I've had encounters with some of those people, and they're really quite professional.
Yes.
Whatever guidance you have provided to them helps them to be more professional. But to begin with, you identified some people which are, I think, really sharp people. They're mostly younger people.
Yeah,
and
I was lucky, yeah.
Yeah, you've done a very good job.
I was lucky to have good teams and good support. I was lucky to have a good community around me that a lot of people I thank now for my team and family, friends, and my customers. Without them, we cannot succeed.
And, I want to, for listeners out there, and we do have a question that's just come in. Roger's asked, where's the restaurant? And tell them where the two locations are.
So the first one is in Roswell Road, 4969 Roswell Road. It's behind, if you know, Food 101, which will be very cross street from Kroger, Roswell Road. It's in the back side of the building. Very hidden, but it was successful because people supported it and I liked it. Second one is Sandy Springs City Walk. It's the new City Hall of Sandy Springs, the new theater, and there is a new shopping center there. So it's another Cafe Vendome, which is smaller but cuter.
You have the City Springs.
It's Cafe Vendome. The name is Cafe Vendome.
Cafe Vendome.
Yeah.
For Americans, it's Vendome.
Yeah, Vendome.
And two locations, one in South Sandy Springs, one in the City Springs City Center.
Yeah.
I want to thank you, Hamid, for taking the time to be my guest. I think
pleasure.
you shared a great deal of passion and insight about what it takes to get a business off the ground.
Thank you. My pleasure. I was happy to share, and I was happy to with you. And I appreciate you also as a customer. You are so appreciative, and it's so nice to be with you all the time. So thank you.
Well, it's been my personal experience that led to having you on as a guest because it's been always very positive when I'm in the Cafe Vendome.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the Business Hour here at America's Web Radio. We're on Fridays from 10 to 11 a.m. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you on the internet and on the radio next week.
Thank you.
You're listening to America's Web Radio on the AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
Yes.
This is David Donaldson with the Atlanta Healing Center, conveniently located in Lawrenceville, Georgia. At AHC, your success is our goal. Addiction recovery is about more than just not using. It's about becoming a whole person and addressing all aspects of your physical, psychological, and social needs. Please call us at 770-696-9862, or you can reach us on the web at www.atlantahealingcenter.com.
Probably had a little glimpse of what
You're listening to America's Web Radio on the AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
Good morning, everybody. Joe Gavalis, back with your Safe Senior Hour. I hope everybody had
And you coach as well.
a good weekend. And I think as we start looking at our upcoming shows here, we're going to have more and more interesting topics.
Go ahead.
Again, we always start off the show with elder abuse doesn't report itself. And I think we constantly have to be reminded that this is the case. As we talk about elder abuse and situations that it just doesn't report itself unless somebody does. And that somebody could be many people in many states. They're mandated reporters that have to report. But more than likely it'll be a friend, a loved one, a relative who's concerned about another relative.
And the guy's
So remember